Teachers utilizing the integrated SSP kits are not required to create their own PowerPoints to teach to the PLD program. The new and approved daily review slides for years 4 to 6 make this even easier. This video demonstrates how to utilize the prepared digital displays for the in-class teaching across your teaching groups. We will step through the main components of each lesson across years 3 and 4. In this example, I'm a year 4 teacher in term 3, week 3, and this is my data for the classroom. Refer to PLD's tracking sheet video for how to group your students using the PLD process. As you can see, I have a group that's offering at stage 5 who are following the year 4, term 3 teaching sequence. A group behind that's in stage 4, and a group more significantly behind still in stage 1 in target 4. For setup tips and an explanation of how to open up the relevant digital displays, please refer to the Navigating My SSP Kit weekly teaching resource video. I will start by demonstrating PLD's Monday and Tuesday literacy components. So the first 10 to 15 minutes are spent on a whole class daily review. Then the next 5 minutes focus on this week's phonic concepts while we read words from the word list, usually about 3 to 4 words each day. Remember, all students are present and engaging in each other's learning, which acts as really nice review of what was previously covered to stop that forgetting curve, and also integrate pre-teaching into your daily teaching. So for students that aren't quite up to that, when they get up to it, they're going to have really great implicit knowledge of those phonic concepts. So finally, Monday and Tuesday conclude with the speech to print task, while Wednesday concludes with a word study task. And Thursday, Friday is a focus on dictation. We begin the review section with commonly misspelled words, highlighting the tricky component for students. In years 3, you might still have students who are completing the hard high-frequency words. So please refer to one of our previous clips that will demonstrate the teaching for the hard high-frequency words. Although it is similar, it is a little bit different. When reviewing, you can use a mini whiteboard, or you can also refer to the student materials that are included in your box for students to write in. Let's start our review with going over the commonly misspelled words that we covered in the last few weeks. So our first word, I want everyone to have a go reading at the bottom here, is benefit. Okay, tell me, what was the tricky part in this word? That's right. This has an unstressed vowel, so it's hard for us to hear. Benefit. It sounds a bit like an but we represent it with the letter E. So we say it like but we write it with the letter E. Everyone, I want you to have a go writing benefit on your board. Okay, now we're going to learn a new commonly misspelled word. Now, when you go to the shops and they give you a receipt, right? So you could say in a sentence, I got a receipt when I purchased the item. So what commonly misspelled word are we learning today? That's right, receipt. Okay, receipt. Let's think about the sounds in receipt. Eat. Receipt. Okay, let's do lines on our board to represent the sounds. Eat. Let's fill in the easy parts first. What do you hear first? Let's write in here. Now this part might be tricky if you can't remember, but in this word, we say it like S, but we write it with the letter C, okay? So we're going to put a little heart above, okay, just to remember that might be also tricky for us as well. Eat. Okay, there's a few tricky components here, so let's go through them. And this word, we say it like E, but we might know E as double E or EA. But actually, in this word, we can see that it's EI. So we're going to write EI here. So the last tricky part is we finished the word with receipt. All we can hear is a T. But in this word, we finish it with the letters PT. So the P here is not said. So let's go over the tricky parts. We say it like E, but we write it with the letters EI. That's right. And we say it like T, but we write it with the letters PT. Write yours down as a whole word underneath. Now, let's review the components that we've been learning over the past few weeks. Let's go over the phonic concepts that we've been covering over the last few weeks with all the groups. So, we were learning about the sh sound. We already know sh can be represented by the digraph SH, but we were learning a few other forms. So, we were learning it can be represented by CI, as in magician. We were also learning that it can be TI, as in celebration. We've also been learning about the letter A. Now, we already know that it can be represented by A, as in apple, but we're learning that it can also represent R, as in bath, and O, as in swan, usually after a W sound. All right, the next word that we're going to revise, let's have a look. Let's do nasty. Nasty. I want you to make that your second word on your mini whiteboard. Okay, and we're going to do crucial. Crucial. And make that your last word on your mini whiteboard. Let's see if you got them right. Okay, the next word that we did, nasty. Okay, remember, tick it or fix it, nasty. 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 And what was the phonic concept in this word? A as in R, as in bath. Right. The last word, we had crucial. 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 And the concept in this word was CIAL, as in facial. Okay. So our review section had 3 main components. We review and taught the commonly misspelled words or heart high frequency words. We went over the previously covered phonic concepts, and we also applied that within some previously covered words. Now I will demonstrate how to teach this week's concepts portion of the lesson. We're going to introduce the phonic concept and then read 3 to 4 words from each word list. Now let's teach this week's phonic concept and go through the word list together. So this week we are learning about the schwa sound. We're learning that unstressed vowel at the end of the word can be represented by OUR as in flavor and RE as in millimeter. Now, we already know that sound as in doctor, and we also know that ER as in finger, but we're adding to these to our list of schwa at the end of the word. Let's read through 2 words from each of our concepts. Demeanor, demeanor. Splendor, splendor. Center, center. Massacre, massacre. Let's do our next word list. In the next word list, we are learning that this sound can be represented by the letter C as in pencil. We're going to read through the first 4 words together. Princess, princess. Excited, excited. Juicy, juicy. Incentive, incentive. That concludes our section of teaching the phonic word list and reading through the words on the word list for that day. The next day rolls around, I'm going to read the next 4 words on the word list and continue on the next day as well. The last part of the Monday-Tuesday lesson is to apply what we've just learned in a speech-to-print task. Here I will model 1 word from each group before students complete the task independently. On Monday and Tuesday, we conclude our day with a speech-to-print task. We're always going to model 1 word from each word list, before students complete 10 minutes worth independently. So let's start that now. First of all, I'm going to make sure that my students have 2 colored pens or pencils and a card to cover. I'm projecting what's in front of me here so students are able to see and it can be modeled. Let's read the word first together. Remember, all students are engaging each other's learning at this point. Demeanor. Let's cover that word. What was that word again? Demeanor. Okay, what was the first syllable? D. Let's write it in first color. Mean. So we're going to change colors. Mean. And the last syllable in demeanor? Which is represented by O-U-R. Change color. Okay, we're going to check it. Great. Okay, remember this is a double time, so once we're finished here, we're going to do it again there as well. Princess. Let's cover the word. What was that word again? Princess. And what's the first syllable? Prin. Okay, let's put it in. Prin. Okay, change colors. What was our last syllable? Cess. Okay, and what do we need to remember? Is represented by C. Cess. Okay, let's see if I got it right. Yes, I'll give myself a tick. Now students will go off and complete this task for the next 10 minutes. Next, I will demonstrate PLD's Wednesday literacy components. In this part, we start with our daily review, we teach the word list, and then instead of the speech to print, we move to our word study task. Now, on a Wednesday, we are going to be doing a word study task. So just complete one word study task here, but I'm going to demonstrate 2 for you. We have synonyms and antonyms, and we also have definitions. So let's look at synonyms and antonyms. Just like the other days, I'm going to begin with a daily review, going through the word list, and instead of the speech to print task, we're going to model the word study task. So let's do that now. All right, I'm going to pick a word from this word list, and I think a really good word to do will be, let's read it together, candor. Okay, so that word was candor. Okay, we're going to put it into our synonyms and antonyms here. What was that first syllable? Can. Okay, we're going to write in can here. Candor. Okay. D, and that schwa is what spelling? O-U-R. Candor. Okay, and if we think about what candor means, it might be that you're very truthful. So we've got to think of synonyms and antonyms. So synonyms are words with the same meaning and antonyms are words with the opposite meaning. So when we think of candor, a word that comes to mind for me is honesty. So let's write in honesty for the synonym. Now, an antonym, so a word that's opposite of candor, would be maybe dishonesty, okay, or lying. You're not going to be a person that has candor if you're lying, okay? So let's put in here dishonesty, or if we want a different word, let's do lying. Okay, let's pick a word from the next word list to model. I'm having a look, and I think a really good word to do today is incentive. Incentive. Okay, if we think about the word incentive, I might give a really good incentive to do your work if I gave you 20 bucks. Okay, so if we think about a synonym and antonym for incentive, okay, let's start to think about that while we write the word down, and I'll ask you. The word was incentive. So the first syllable was in. The next syllable is sen. And the last syllable is tiv. Incentive. Okay, so when you think of incentive, you think of what? A Reward. That's a great synonym. Reward. Okay, and what about an antonym? Maybe a punishment. That's a really good antonym. A punishment. For the remainder of the lesson, for 10 minutes, we are going to work on picking 4 more words from our word list to do a synonym and an antonym, just like that. Let's do a second example this time. Now we're going to have a look at definitions. So for this one, we're going to do just like before, but this time we're going to do my own definition. Candor. We're going to write that in here. So the word was candor. The first syllable is can. The second syllable is da. Candor. Okay, I'm going to think of my definition. Remember, you can use a dictionary to help you define the definition, but then you have to try and think of the definition in your own words. So if I'm going to find candor, I'm thinking candor is when someone speaks their mind and says the truth about what they really think. Finally, I will demonstrate PLD's Thursday-Friday literacy components. On Friday, we focus on paragraph level text, which utilize words with the same concept covered across the week. Dictation should act as that supportive bridge between single word reading and spelling to sentence and extended reading and writing. It gives students an opportunity to apply their learning in a more cognitively complex environment that does not just involve the current concepts, but previously covered concepts and high-frequency words, handwriting, and punctuation as well. Prior to the Friday, we do suggest that students have read the dictation prior to this. So you might facilitate this through buddy reading in the classroom or sending it home as homework reading. Dictation days differ to other days because we launch straight into dictation, meaning we don't cover our review or our word list. It depends on who you have in the class to how you actually do your dictation. So if you have 2 adults, it becomes quite simple to accommodate to 3 teaching groups. But if you only have 1 teacher in the classroom, then you need to decide how you might accommodate to that. Commonly, we suggest either using technology where you record yourself completing the dictation in the same way you would complete your dictation in front of your students, or you merge 2 groups together. For my example, I've got my top group completing the dictation with technology while I work with my other 2 groups. So let's have a look at an example. This is one of my groups. With my group in front of me, the first 5 minutes we're going to spend reading chorally together. So let's point out what the concept is. In this week, we've been learning S as in pencil, and students will have a copy in front of them. They're going to have a highlighter as well and be highlighting words that have that same phonic concept. Because these guys are in stage 4, we're just going to read through fluently. Let's have a read together. Bicycle trip around the city. An English visitor decided upon a bicycle trip around the city. The trip started with a full circling of the royal palace. Before cycling past the dance, concert hall and the nearby circus performance. Now students will remove their copy from view and open up their exercise books to start doing the dictation, making sure that they are saying it before they write it. So let's do a few sentences together now. An English visitor decided. An English visitor decided. Say it with me. An English visitor decided. What are you going to write? An English visitor decided. Okay, write that down. An English visitor decided upon a bicycle trip around, upon a bicycle trip around, say it with me, upon a bicycle trip around, what are you going to write? Upon a bicycle trip around. An English visitor decided upon a bicycle trip around the city full stop. The city full stop. Say it with me, the city full stop. What are you going to write? The city full stop. Now, remembering, I'm going to actually say the punctuation points because when I'm breaking up the sentences, it becomes difficult to know when the end of a sentence is occurring. I like to use some type of gesture to help students to know that I don't want them to write the word full stop, but to actually do a full stop. You can do the same with a comma, a question mark, or punctuation marks in general. Let's now do an example with a group that's still in stage 1. So if they're still in stage 1, we do like to stop and do a decoding run through, just so students know how to break apart words when they're not sure. But then we're going to do a second read that's reading fluently. So in this one, we are learning the concept AI as in rain. Okay, so when we stop on a word that has AI, let's highlight it too. The wet snail, snail. A snail, got wet in the rain. So the snail went up a drain and waited for the rain to stop. It was a pain. Okay, now let's read it one more time fluently. Following with your finger underneath. The wet snail. A snail got wet in the rain. The snail went up a drain and waited for the rain to stop. It was a pain. Okay, now the students remove it from view, open up their books, ready to do the dictation. As this is my struggling group, I'm going to go nice and slow with them and make sure that they can still complete the dictation, but I might give them fewer words at a time. So let's do that now. A snail got, say it with me, a snail got, what are you going to write? A snail got wet in the, say it with me, wet in the, what are you going to write? Wet in the, great, write that down. A snail got wet in the rain full stop, rain full stop. Say it with me, rain full stop. What are you going to write? Rain full stop. Great, write that down. So we continue like this until the 10 minutes are up. Now, because we do this across the Thursday, Friday, we're going to come back to this tomorrow, and I like students to tally up how many words they got on the page so they can try and beat their score for tomorrow. So for tomorrow, we're going to start at the very top again and just see if we can get through more because we're trying to build automaticity of writing here. Let's recap over this week's learning. Each PLD session is a 30-minute block. On Monday and Tuesday, we complete a daily review, teaching of the word list, and a speech to print task. On Wednesday, we complete the daily review, teaching of the word list, and a word study task. And finally, on Thursday, Friday, we spend the whole 30-minute session on dictation. This concludes our demonstration for completing the PLD program using the integrated SSP kits in years 3 and 4.
If you found this information useful, don't forget to click the subscribe button and check out our related videos shown here. If you have any questions or feedback, please add them to the comments below and we'll be sure to respond. Otherwise, you can reach us via live chat on our website, pld-literacy.org. Thanks again for viewing.